What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the BTW Podcast, Beers, Toys, Wrasslin, episode 13 now. I am Nate Gleason, joined by my usual cohorts, Lance Johnson.
Where am I?
Good question. Dustin Hayward.
Yo,
And Wade Fry.
our podcast is almost old enough to get married in Alabama.
Yeah. All right. Not a whole heck of a lot planned for this week, so let's just go around. Guys, how have your weeks been? Lance, lead us off on this.
Well, I would say mildly stressful. With, it was bad enough we had Corona, and then more shit happened.
What are you talking about? What? Something happened?
I know, right? It's almost like I'm an African American in the United States. So yeah, and that's kind of where I'll leave it because it's not been a good week for me. I had somebody at work who tried to, and I'm going to apologize now because I'm going to use a term that I made up for it. So you know how women often accuse us, and probably rightfully so, of mansplaining.
Mm-hmm.
I was white-splained.
Yes.
Okay, you know what? I feel like that's a thing, but give us your scenario.
So, as many of us know from the global situation rather than the domestic situation, I'm working from home, which is fine. So I had one of my colleagues reach out to me the day before. No, it was yesterday because it was Monday, and he was like, he went on this thing. He tried to explain it to me why what's going on right now is class warfare and not racially based. And then he also hoped that his daughter would never have to go through this. And yeah, so I just kind of was like, that's not right. And I tried to give him some examples. He wasn't really picking up on it, and so I just kind of ended it with next time you approach somebody about a situation that may affect them personally, you probably should try to ask more questions and seek to understand rather than just leading in with your opinion.
And I have to say right there, it's that reason pretty much why I have not put anything out there on social media about the situation, because I could hold up a sign Black Lives Matter all day, but I can't necessarily relate to the situation or sympathize or even necessarily fully understand the situation.
The analogy I attempted to make for him was, I get that many people can understand it conceptually, right?
Mhm.
Conceptually, you can understand it. Emotionally, you don't know how it's going to make somebody feel.
Yeah.
And the analogy I said, it's like you and me, or in this case, the four of us being all male, attempting to understand somebody who may feel, a woman who may feel passionately or have been affected by something that relates to the Me Too movement. Can we understand legally and conceptually what happened? Yeah. Can we listen to their story and understand what happened to them from a story standpoint? Yes. Can we perfectly identify and understand how that situation made that person feel? No.
No.
There's just
That's a wonderful analogy, actually. I mean, that's really good.
You hit the head on the nail, Lance. Not that I've got into heated debates or anything. I try to remain as politically. As soon as you pick a side, people start getting on you.
Yes.
But if I have a couple of friends that I have admitted to them that they are more well-read, or they watch more news, or whatever the case may be. So I offer up my opinion, and then I follow it up with, like, I claim a little bit of ignorance on the subject, but this is from my observations. This is what I see, and what do you think? And I don't have a problem saying, well, why is that? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Exactly.
you're welcome to give your opinion, but then if someone says, all right, I see where you're coming from, but let me tell you what I think. It's dumb to just be like, nope, we're done.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be mean to him or anything like that, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. It's just that there's a way to approach the situation, and similarly to you guys, I don't throw out what my opinion on social media. Is a lot of, as you guys know, I don't really have Facebook. I put up the black square today on Instagram. But I don't really, get up on the pulpit and preach. But yeah, there's just a way to approach the situation, and there's just a way. Well, there are a lot of ways not to.
And we're seeing a lot of those ways not to right now.
I have no idea what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Our leader is wonderful. Oh, did I go there? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not. But yeah.
Just like any good wrestling match, this podcast is no holds barred.
I feel like our president is taking like already the hardest job in the world and making it so much more difficult. Like, I didn't think you could make being president more difficult, but he is excelling.
I was having this conversation today, oddly enough, and I feel like he's doing everything in his power he can to ensure that he's not reelected, or at least very unfavored in the race.
Or if he's reelected, it'll be by it'll be by some crazy thing, like it'll be Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, nobody wants anything else.
Right.
But yeah, no.
But threatening to turn the military on U.S. citizens is pretty much like a shoo-in for you're not getting reelected.
Yeah. Here, let me see how they react to me threatening martial law. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
From the other perspective, and I don't know if you guys watch a lot of SNL. So a while back when Trump got elected, there was an SNL skit where it was a room full of white people, right? And it all played by, the white cast members. And then there were two black guys in the room, and I think it was like Shay and Tracy Morgan or something like that, right? And the election finishes and they call it for Trump, and they're like, oh, we can't believe that with all the stuff going on and with all the stuff he said, et cetera, that Trump got elected. This is just crazy. And Shay and Tracy Morgan are like, why are you surprised by this? We called it. It's one of those things where I love this country. This country has a problem with systemic racism. It has since, I don't know, the Civil War ended. And while it's gotten better, it's not great. And I think this exposes it. I think what Trump doesn't understand is that he only cares about himself and what makes him look good. He's not threatening military action right now to get the country in order, or because he cares about people being peaceful and people being calm. He wants the country in order so that way he doesn't look like a laughingstock of a leader. And that's all he cares about. He's a total narcissist.
I'll agree with that.
Right?
Going back to where you were saying about how racism has progressed in the country. I don't know if you guys saw that quote from Will Smith this past week.
Yes.
That's one thing that I wholeheartedly agree with.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar echoed a very similar sentiment, and yeah,
and for those who don't know, the quote that Will Smith said, if anyone's listening who hasn't seen it, it's racism hasn't gotten worse, it's started to be filmed.
Exactly.
And
for years we've as a community said, hey, this problem exists, and because we said this problem exists with police officers, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all police officers are bad when I say this. And it's far from, I know people say, well, there's a few bad apples. Well, it's more than a few bad apples. And it's for various reasons. It's not just, how they were taught to view certain sections of the community since, again, the Civil War or before that. And it's not just, it's not just the way that they've been taught to respond to any kind of threat with overwhelming force, the militarization of the police. It's kind of a confluence of all of those things. And when you take that and then you add on top of it is that the body responsible for policing the police is the police, right? Each department has their own internal affairs, basically. And then on top of that, should a police officer be guilty, then they have to go in front of, then they're going to get prosecuted by the district attorney, whose job it is to work with the police to get convictions. It's a very broken system, and if anybody happens to be listening at this point and it hasn't completely tuned out, there are a couple of things that you can watch about police brutality and about the system in general. So a few years ago on Last Week Tonight, John Oliver did an episode on police brutality that was very, very well done. Is he a leftist comedian entertainer? Sure. Is it well researched and thoughtful? In my opinion, it was. Then there was also, I want to say it was Hassan Minhaj on, what the heck is the name of his show on Netflix?
Oh, that's the one that we watched a few episodes of, right?
Yeah.
That's really, I can't remember it either, and it's so well done.
Hold on, give me a second. I've got Google.
I just wanted to...
So anyway, he did a episode of his Patriot Act. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
He did an episode of Patriot Act on how the policing system is inherently corrupt and biased because you are relying on these people that have to work together, and how just by human nature, if this person is working with you and potentially against you, it brings up issues of cooperation. We had that here in Manchester, New Hampshire, when the police union didn't agree with the Manchester DA. He also goes on to talk about police unions, and I'm not saying unions are a bad thing, but what he points out is in some police unions across the country, they have a lot of power that's been given to the officer themselves, some of which in one state, and I want to say it was Louisiana, but I don't remember off the top of my head, that officer can actually go in and erase their entire disciplinary record, which clearly the officer in Minnesota didn't do or didn't feel the need to out of his 18 complaints and 19 years on the force. Separate issue. But they can go in and they can erase their history of disciplinary actions or complaints before they go and apply for another job in another city. So, just from the perspective of a person who believes that the police force is there to protect and serve us. And I'm not advocating any violence towards the police. I'm not advocating getting rid of the police, but just it becomes what the tagline for The Watchmen when it originally came out for the movie was, "Who watches the Watchmen?" That's a fantastic question in this particular situation. It took national outrage to not only move the case in Georgia with Ahmaud Arbery forward, but to then have arrests done in this situation with George Floyd. And it's all kinds of bullshit.
I wanted to say, I forgot, a coworker and I were kind of talking about what you're saying with the police, and he said that as with kind of any job, but the police more so, you have police officers that join the force because they want to help their community. You have the police officers that enjoy enjoy like the benefits and the pension. But then the third group are the you have people that join the police force because they enjoy the fringe benefits that come with the badge, and those are your bad apples. He says there's bound to be police officers that the only reason they like being a police officer is because of the almost immunity, the impunity they can behave with on and off the job. And he says those are 100% the ones that, when they say a few bad apples, he says more than a few, because there has to be, a percentage that's why they joined. And that's it.
Those are the ones that we can't have. Especially because in this country, if you look at who we hold up as standards, right? That we believe people should be above reproach, and these by the nature of their jobs, their role models. It's the military, it's the first responders, and all rightfully so, and it's the office of the presidency in general, along with Congress, right? Both the House of Representatives and the Senate. So if we as a society are going to hold these people up and say this is our highest standard, we can't say we're going to allow them to break the rules or to make their own rules. No, the people that have to be there in those jobs are the people who believe in upholding the rules and applying them equally to everyone. And by nature, also following the rules. It's like that old saying is when the boss is the true test of any team in a corporate environment is what the team does when the boss isn't around. If everything still gets done in the proper way, in the proper timing that it should, that's the mark of a good team, and that's really what we need.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done being preachy. For a bit.
Right. I mean, if you gotta get it off your chest, get it off your chest.
Because honestly, this is a subject I wanted to tackle tonight,
okay.
And
so let's keep, because I can tie it into wrestling for you if you want.
Sure.
Jackson Riker. Now, I know Wade said who, which is hilarious. Member of the Forgotten Sons. Of course, he's a former Marine. He posted on Twitter, and I want to say it was like yesterday or last night, and he got lit up like a Christmas tree by a number of people. He posted, "Thankful for the at POTUS we have. God bless America. Built of freedom, forgotten no more." Now, there's some debate because, as we all know, certain people in the WWE like to take some controversial events and like to play them in storyline. Here's why I don't think it's a storyline. Of the multiple thousands of responses he got, one of them was from his very own tag team partner and former Marine, Steve Cutler, that just amounted to Steve Cutler being like, no, Kevin Owens got on him with a lengthy tirade. Mustafa Ali, of course, if you know him from, he initially came in the Cruiserweight Classic back in 2017, whenever it was, and has been. He went from the Cruiserweight division. He transitioned to the SmackDown roster. He's a former Chicago police officer, and he basically just said, "Hey, now I know the kind of person you are, and that's all I need to know about you." So there are a number of WWE superstars that are calling him out. There are a number of people that are coming to his defense. But I think many more people are calling him out on what seems to be an inappropriate response, especially because this came last night, which was well after our dear leader decided that early that the park that was in between him and a place he wanted to for a photo op needed to be forcibly cleared of all protesters by the Secret Service and the DC police, so that way he could take a picture with a Bible, not his Bible, a Bible, in front of the Grace Episcopal Church without the church's consent.
And can I just say one of a meme that was posted into the other group chat that I'm in today that made me laugh far more than it should have was a comparison picture of Trump holding up that Bible, like you said, that picture, and Hitler holding up a copy of Mein Kampf.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's where it seems like he gets a lot of his ideals from. I'm not saying that he's overtly one way or the other, but a lot of his actions are totalitarian. And again, I think it goes back to his own narcissism, where if you think about him, he's never grown up in the real world. He doesn't know what it's like to be poor. He doesn't know what it's like to be an average American. He knows what it's like to be a rich American and get whatever he wants because he has the money to do so, and screw you. Which is exactly what was elected by the U.S. What we elected, regardless of whether or not you voted for him, the country as a whole did indeed elect him.
Can we also just agree with everything that's going on in the world lately? How I get racist and I get this, but like how dumb that like at this point people don't understand that everybody in the world is carrying a camcorder on them that is connected to the internet, that is connected to everybody else in the world, and it can be transmitted instantly. Like, can we just talk about like, the guy the woman in the park and the guy that was bird watching? That guy was like the head editor of Marvel Comics or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He was a doctor, if I remember correctly.
I know, but like. It blows my mind that she looks at him and says, "Stop recording me." And then he says, "No, I'm going to keep recording you." And then she says, "I'm going to tell the police that you're threatening." Like the amount of idiot, like the amount of dumb, like you're recording everything I'm saying and everybody can see, like you're it's live right now. It just blows my mind the amount of this cop looks up and looks around and there's 20 people recording him. Like, you think there's not going to be any blowback from that? Like it's so stupid how people are nowadays.
Wade, I'm gonna actually disagree with you. I don't think it's stupidity. It is to a certain extent, but I don't think it's that. I think it's more hubris, right? Because if the woman in the park incident, right, what she did, she knew exactly
what she was doing. Absolutely.
To get what she wanted. She knew 110% what she was doing. That's not stupidity. That's an acknowledgement of there is a systematic racist issue in this country, and I'm going to take it and use it to my advantage because my feelings are hurt because somebody called me out for doing something I'm not supposed to do, and how dare you do that to me? Now I'm going to try and inflict more harm on you. And by the way, huge shout out to the adoption agency that gave that woman
taking
the
the dog
dog
back.
initially, because they took that thing right back, and that was an A+ move.
And Lance, I completely 110% agree with you that what she was doing was a calculated move. I'm talking about I don't know if it's I think it's stupidity. It could be an ignorance of, like, when how many times like these cops will be doing something and they look right at the camera who's videotaping them. Like, you know what I mean? This lady says, "You're stop recording me or I'm going to do this." And, like, he says, "I'm just going to keep recording you." So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't get how dumb you are to look, be like, all right, well, I'm going to double down. Like, just like, I'm going to double down on my ignorance or whatever. And I'm going to push this to DEFCON 1. And we'll see who folds first. And he never folded. I mean, congratulations to him. He never folded. And her entire life is crumbling. And rightfully so. Like, I like the taste I get in my mouth thinking about that dumb bitch's life falling apart around her is just, it feels so good.
I mean, I don't think for me it feels good that anybody's life falls apart around them. Should she be held accountable for her actions? Yeah. I mean, that's another thing that we could potentially get into. Another issue with the country. I love it. I do love it, but we're not perfect. Is that we have the freedom of speech, right? But the freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence.
Oh, absolutely.
That's where a lot of people are getting confused right now. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, but also a lot of these companies, like so many companies nowadays, are so scared of getting called out for something negative on the internet. I don't know, Lance, I'd imagine you did at your work. I know at my work, I had to sign like a thing saying that I am at all times a representative of my company. You know what I mean? And if I were to act in a poor manner, or if anywhere in my online life I can be connected back to them, then that reflects poorly on them, and then that's on me. You know what I mean? So when what was she, like a day trader or something, like something that, like, a hedge fund man, like something that was like a very important job, and just dumb. Just I feel good when somebody does something so willfully dangerous and ignorant and gets their comeuppance so swiftly. And, like, there was not one person I saw on the internet that said, well, maybe, or guys, just hear her out. It was everybody that was like, nope.
Yeah, no, we have a zero tolerance policy. We have for a while, and this is a big reason why I didn't go on social media and post a whole ton. For a while, we had a very strict policy in terms of social media, which amounted to basically just don't do anything for social media. For a while, that my company was thinking about having employees shutting down their Facebook and Twitter accounts and all of that, because of just, preventing people from doing stupid stuff. Because, like you said, they don't want that blowback. They don't want to be associated with that. We have a very detailed social media policy. And that does end up in my case anyway, including podcasts. So I even had to ask permission from the company to be able to do this podcast.
Right.
Ultimately, their decision was, hey, you're not making money off of it. You can go ahead and you can do and say whatever you want. Just make sure you're following FINRA guidance. Which
I had no clue about that. Yeah,
and then that's one of the reasons why I don't mention it. I won't mention it, but they are very, very detailed, and they have had for some time a zero tolerance policy on certain ways of speaking in the company because they don't want it in the company at all. So I do give them a lot of credit for that, because it is something that they've had for quite some time.
Yeah,
But
I
you
just-
can't fix stupid. Stupid's gonna happen.
I had a coworker miss out on a promotion because part of the process when he threw his hat in the ring is they went digging through his social media, and because part of his social media said where he worked, and then whatever he was posting, he didn't lose his job, but they were just like, "Whew, man, you are not a good fit." Like just
Yeah. Well, a lot of companies are doing that now, just looking through your social media. Um, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because you get an idea of, who is it that you're hiring? Is this really the person that you want to have representing your company?
right.
So, I mean, I think it's a good thing at the end of the day, but I think too sometimes, you can't always tell the quality of a person by what their social media is. Sometimes you really don't know until it's too late. Um, but again, it's one of those things where more and more companies are taking up this practice of, all right, we're going to um, vet these people via social media, and I think it's the right thing. You're not going to unfortunately catch everybody, but
But as
it's
soon as you start doing something dumb
not.
in real life and you're being recorded, like to me, that's the first, like that would be like one of the first things that came to my mind. Like, well, the next 5 decisions I make in the next 2 minutes are going to basically determine how I'm treated in this world for the next 20 years. Like
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and like that woman, the video, she's never going to live it down. The officer in Minnesota, his wife has already filed for divorce. She's gone.
I didn't hear about that, but
Yeah.
I get it. Without a doubt, I get it.
I seen he was on suicide watch now.
Yep, I heard that too.
stupid games win stupid prizes. Like,
I mean, that dude ain't gonna last long in jail.
No, not at all.
Jeff Dahmer situation, like
We had to watch and see photos of him killing a guy. I think turnabout's fair play.
I couldn't watch the video, man. I heard about it. I was like, I'm not.
I couldn't watch it either. But yeah, if his comeuppance was made public, I'd probably watch that.
Oh yeah.
I'm with the Obamas on this one. They go low, we go high. I don't necessarily want that to happen because I don't think that level of barbarism actually solves anything. That level of
it doesn't. It doesn't, and I know it doesn't. And I'm being facetious to an extent. But still, I think, yeah. I think it's too bad that Minnesota doesn't have capital punishment, but as Wade said, I don't care where he is, whether it's solitary, wherever he's put. I don't think it's gonna be for a long time.
prison justice is a whole different set of rules, and when that kind of stuff gets found out, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
This is true.
And that's saying something when they're just that group of people band together against something like a cop gone rogue.
Well, I mean, in general, police don't have the greatest track record in prison to begin with when they get in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it should be interesting to see what happens in this case moving forward, because I know they've got the conflicting autopsy reports now, right?
Yeah.
As far as cause of death, but both autopsy reports do agree that it's a homicide.
Okay, now I forgive me for a sec because I heard, so I heard the independent one that came out was asphyxiation.
Yes.
What was there another one done by the state or the county that?
Yep. So the official medical examiner one came out and said that it was not asphyxiation. It said that it was actually caused by because he, and I want to say, if I remember correctly, there were multiple factors going on. So, one, he had heart disease. Two, he was possibly intoxicated, although I'd have to go back and see if they confirmed that, but that was the initial thing that I heard out of the medical report. And then three, it was the officer on his neck. So the combination of all of those three things resulted in him having a heart attack, which resulted in his death.
Okay. All right. I wasn't aware of the official medical examiner report. I just knew about the family's one that came back with asphyxiation.
Yeah, the official medical examiner came out. We got rumblings of it yesterday, and I think it officially came out today. But yeah, so that's fun and wonderful. Obviously, that's sarcasm. So then that led to, of course, the protests, which I fully support the peaceful protests, and then there's the issue with the riots, which, depending on which news media you follow, my understanding at this point is the riots are mainly being caused by people that are from outside the area coming inside and agitated, and those people are both anti-FIFA and white supremacists. Of course, the anti-FIFA people are there protesting the police, along with, I think they said, also some anarchist cells, because yay, anarchy. And then the white supremacists are there to cause the violence to help discredit everything that's been going on in the last 8 days. And so they've had a number of arrests, obviously, all across the nation. And that's pretty much what most of the government officials that I've heard from are saying, in terms of why the protests are turning violent. It's outside agitators, which makes me feel all warm and fuzzy that there are people in this country that are like, let's go push my personal agenda, by just causing destruction and things, and in using the guise of this tragedy, or this series of tragedies in the recent few weeks, in the U.S. to do that, which is really, really shitty of those people. I think if there's anybody that I'm more pissed off at than Officer Dipshit in Minnesota, it's those people.
I've said it. I've been saying it for years now. Whenever something like this comes up, there are the, when I say there's three different groups of people whenever something like this happens. There's the right and the wrong. Now, the right and the wrong depends on your views, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But the third group are the opportunists, are the people that, like you said, that show up to push their own agenda. They show up not to make a point. They show up to get some flat screen TVs from Target.
Yep.
Let me tell you that I get that kneeling as a protest hasn't worked. I get that speeches at the Golden Globes or the Oscars as a protest have not worked. I can't say I condone it, but to see a police station having been taken over and set on fire is the most symbolic action of we are tired of this bullshit that I have ever witnessed. I've not been on this earth for very long compared to some people, but I mean, what is it, is it the movie A Bug's Life or Ants, where he's like, the grasshoppers say they outnumber us, 100-1. If they ever knew they had any sort of power, they know that they would, they know that they would find out that they could overrun us and kill us or whatever.
Right.
You know, it's just like, to me, something like that. While I don't condone the destruction, I understand completely to look and say, if you think that you can hide behind a badge, or if you think that you can continue this behavior, we are not going to tolerate it anymore. And that's. Yeah. But yeah, no, the opportunists are the one that upset me the most, because they're the ones that are taking focus off of the people with a point, or the people that are suffering, because news media outlets at the end of the day are businesses that need to generate cash. And the only way they generate cash is not by boring old news stories, is by sensationalism. And they have to report from the front lines and report what they see. And if what they see is a bunch of bullshit by a bunch of fake people, that doesn't help anybody.
Exactly. And I 100% agree with that. There are certain news organizations in this country that are worse than others. And I don't think they really help either. I think as a country, we've stopped questioning, we've stopped researching, we've stopped talking about all of these things. And we've done that because we've decided, hey, we're in a place where, this isn't a thing anymore. Well, who said it wasn't a thing anymore? Has it gotten better? Sure. And there are some people, what was it? There was somebody posted that. Oh, it was when I was scrolling through the comments on Jackson Riker's Instagram. I'm sorry, Twitter. Not that I have Twitter, but you can look it up on the internet, right? You can Google it and it comes up. Somebody said, ask any of these African American or non-white people if they've ever watched 12 Years a Slave. After watching that, you can see how good you have it now. And I was like, I obviously didn't comment because I don't have Twitter, nor would I comment, but my comment would have been not very positive, to say the least. It's a mindset that has been handed down from generations to generations that we have to get rid of. Now, have people gotten better with this mindset at hiding it? Sure. But it's one of those things that we need to, as a country and as a society, say either we're all going to accept that this is the way that it is, or we're all going to work to change it. And to your point, a good section of the community of this country, we're fucking pissed off, and it's time for this bullshit to end. It's way past time this bullshit ended.
I kind of have a prevailing theory, and I've noticed it on my job a lot. But I try to tell people, do you know what changed? Do you know what caused the change in the world in the past? We'll say since the mid '90s. You know what I mean? Like how everyone just talks about the world just going to hell in a handbasket. Do you know what's caused it?
Nothing's caused it. It's always been going to hell in a handbasket. Well, we're seeing it.
What my prevailing theory is that the internet, while a great tool, has been able to, you, Lance, we talk about how your wife is into those model horses. If she looks up other people that like model horses on just Google, she's able to find them quite easily. But you know who else is able to find like-minded individuals easily? Racists. Pedophile. It's so crazy. Like you said, nobody wants to do the research nowadays. But what people do is they type their thought into Google, and the first 300 results are all maniacs just like them that think the exact same thing.
Right.
Like when I hate when I talk to a more conservative older relative of mine, and they're like, oh well, freedomeagle.net says that has a picture of like Obama giving Osama bin Laden the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Like one of those. You know what I mean? You have to look and be like, listen, I know the internet's not really your thing. But that's
Infowars.
that's a Photoshop picture. And so
Yep.
it's crazy to me. When there's protesters or when there's an injustice like this, how quickly a community can come together, or even a country or the world. But then on the flip side, all the crazies have the exact same access and are able to be subversive so much faster and so much more diligently than ever before.
Nobody vets the internet.
Well, you
And
can't.
you can't. You can't vet the internet, which is, I don't want to say it's a drawback.
Net neutrality was vetting the internet,
Yes.
allegedly.
And, we got rid of that because we didn't need that. There's just, the internet has been a wonderful tool, but people will take advantage of everything. There's always that segment of the population that's going to take advantage of something, right? And you take advantage of the inexperienced people on the internet, the people that don't know how to use the internet, the people that don't know that you can fake things now.
Mhm.
And some media attempts to call that out, and others doesn't. And then you have the people that are there that are just making shit up to sell their shit. Alex Riley in Infowars is a great example of that. One of my aunts, who, she's on my mother's side, so she is predominantly Caucasian. She married a Puerto Rican man way back in like the 50s. One would think that, considering she has relatives now of just about every race, creed, religion that there is, that when she saw something on Infowars, or somebody sent her, what did she send me? It was like a video from Infowars from Alex Riley talking about, I don't know, one of his bullshit Obama is the Antichrist kind of things. But if you watch it, it's not even about that. He's trying to sell you this product on his website. That's what it's about. He's making up a story to keep you interested, and in the middle of the story, he's throwing in product placement. It was worse than the Bud Light product placement in the last Transformers movie. So I would love it if we could, as a society, have responsibility, for the stuff that we say, more than, especially on the internet. And I know there's no policing the internet, and I'm not saying you should police the internet. I'm not saying you should edit the internet. I'm just saying, just like when I'm watching wrestling, the internet isn't real all the time. Are parts of it? Sure. Can things happen? Sure. We talked about that case. What is it? That Netflix documentary series, Don't Fuck with Cats, right? We talked about that last week or the week before, right? Can it lead to good thing and sharing ideas and sharing information and making everybody better as a whole? Yes. But you always have to, I don't want to say vet it, but in the back of your mind, everybody's opinion that you read on the internet has some sort of bias. You have to be able to look at that bias and say, this is this person's angle. This is what they're trying to do. Whether you agree with what they're trying to do, whether you disagree with what they're trying to do, you have to be able to understand that virtually everything on the internet that is written by somebody else, or even stuff written by yourself, by you, is an opinion piece. It doesn't have to be factual. It is an opinion piece.
There's a shade of your thought, no matter how factual you try to make it. There's the way you see it. You know what do they say? There's three sides to an argument. Like his side, her side, and the truth. Like.
Yep.
But I out of all of you guys, am I the only one that has the older relatives that share the picture of Obi-Wan and says it's Jesus?
I haven't gotten that yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, no one, none of my older relatives are really on social media, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Share this picture of Jesus if you're not ashamed. You gotta go be like, I'm sorry, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. So sorry. All right, we've been talking for an hour about this. Sorry to go on such a diatribe, but it's good.
No,
it's good to hear fresh perspective, Lance. And as long as nobody shuts their heart and their mind to anything, it's always good to hear it from just about any corner of the world.
I agree. And thanks, Nate, for letting us droll on for about an hour, way off topic, but it's what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's a topic I wanted to cover too. So
now on to Bears.
Oh, never gonna live that down.
We got to get Connor. Nate's got to have a couple drinks, and Connor's got to come out before we can start talking about that kind of stuff.
Oh.
It's like the Enchantress in the Suicide Squad. Nate has a couple of hard drinks, and he's like, Connor. And like the hand comes up and grabs his hand and flips over.
Oh. So why don't we do wrestling next? Because I really didn't do much of my due diligence this week. So I don't have much to say about what was aired. So Lance, once again, go ahead and lead us off on this one.
Sure. I didn't watch, or I rather didn't finish watching Raw last night. What I will say from wrestling as a whole overall this week, it was really good across the board. AEW was wonderful, although the Tyson thing at the end was a Tyson thing at the end. Mike came out, he tried to rip his shirt off. I think part of that, well, Tyson tried to rip his shirt off like Hogan at one point. And they're trying to tie it in back to something that happened between Jericho and Tyson back in 2011, 2012 in WWE. I don't really know that it's working for me. But it is what it is. I think part of the problem, from my understanding from the reports I heard, they didn't really have a script. They were just kind of like, yeah, Mike, you go out there and do whatever you want. And I don't think Mike knew what to do because he's not a professional sports entertainer. He's a professional athlete.
When they had like Lonzo Ball's dad on the Miz TV or whatever.
Was Lonzo Ball's dad out there? I don't know.
It was whoever the Big Baller Brand guy. That's
Lonzo's dad.
Yeah, his dad was on Miz TV, and like I'm pretty sure he had a couple drinks beforehand, and he like took his shirt off and was yelling at the Miz years ago.
Yeah, like that time. Yeah. It was very similar to that. Yep, I remember that now. Yeah. So other than that, AEW was really good. I thought NXT was really good. I like that how they're setting things up for NXT's In Your House, which happens on Sunday. We're going to get some really good matches. The match between Thatcher and Riddle to close out NXT, their cage match or their fight pit match, whatever they wanted to call it, really, really different. They tried to work it a lot more like an MMA match. And I gotta say, both all three of the people in there, Thatcher, Riddle, Angle, all did a great job. SmackDown was excellent. I think that, and that was kind of an across the board, both men's, women's, everybody on that show was a really, really good show. That was a damn good show. I really enjoyed SmackDown. The highlight for me, I think, was the Bayley and Sasha versus Nikki and Alexa match, and mostly because Bayley, Sasha, and Alexa. No, I'm sorry. It was Alexa versus Sasha. That's what it was. So the two of them, fantastic on the mic, fantastic. Sasha's a fantastic performer in the ring. Alexa Bliss is far from a slouch in the ring. She's really, really good. But the thing that I think it made me enjoy that match the most is while Corey Graves and Bayley were phenomenal on commentary because they were on commentary with Cole and Cross. Nikki Cross was just doing her overly enthusiastic, unhinged kind of character, and it literally had Michael Cole doubled over, laughing so hard he was on mute, and when he would normally be making calls in the match, you didn't hear anything, and Graves saw it, looked in, and had to step up and step in.
Vince is in his ear screaming at him to get your shit together now.
Oh, he absolutely he was, but Cole for a good chunk of that match could not get his shit together. He was laughing so hard at the stuff Nikki Cross was doing, he could not get himself together. And I've never seen Cole that. I don't want to say animated, maybe human, maybe not necessarily human either, but just that out of the character of Michael Cole.
Yeah, unprofessional, quote unquote.
It was fantastic. I enjoyed every second of it.
Do you feel, Lance, that since SummerSlam is coming up here, in the next 2 months, right? Rough.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's still up there.
What I'm asking is, do you think you're going to see some of the matches start to form, or do you think Vince has kind of got him in a holding pattern before he pulls the trigger on some big matches that he might have an empty arena for? Like, I feel like Bayley and Sasha Banks, like, it has the potential of coasting into a SummerSlam match. You know what I mean? But I don't see a lot of like real storylines kind of starting to form to work that way there. Like, I feel like we just talked about, I thought that Bobby Lashley should be viewed as a legit title contender, but I think they're just going to use him as a placeholder until they can find someone to actually, hold interest with Drew McIntyre for SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is, from what I've heard report-wise, they don't know what they're doing with SummerSlam yet, because SummerSlam was originally scheduled for late August in Boston, right? And we've talked about that before, and how I felt that they were going to do a slow burn with Bayley and Sasha that resulted in Sasha getting a title shot at SummerSlam and then winning the title over Bayley in Boston, because we all know Vince loves the pop, right? And that would be a huge pop, because Sasha moved to Boston earlier in life, is billed from Boston, trained 45 minutes north of Boston, and so that was what I was thinking. Now, I think they are in a holding pattern. I don't think we're going to see a lot of things develop for SummerSlam, and because Boston canceled events through Labor Day, I believe. So I think what they would like to have happen is they would like things to come down in Boston and still have SummerSlam, but have it in September, So it would be late summer, early fall slam, maybe early autumn slam. Autumn slam, there we
Summer's
go.
not open to what, September 22nd or something dumb like that. So I mean, like they still got time.
So
So
they
then,
still have time technically if they wanted to do it. So, but that's from what I hear, that's what they would like to do is they would like to push it back, and they would like to have it a little bit later so that way they can still have an arena. And until they decide whether or not they can do that, or they do get the information from Boston as to what they can do, possibly, if anything, I don't think we're going to see anything solidify for SummerSlam.
I'll
The
say,
next thing up, Backlash, um, and they're really pushing Randy Orton and Edge in what is the greatest wrestling match ever,
what a
allegedly.
terrible thing
Supposed.
for the two of them.
What is
What a
the what thing?
Terrible match
Terrible?
name for the two of them. A terrible thing for the two of them to do.
No, I think even more than the match name, I think that the fact that they're playing the Greatest Showman tune from the Hugh Jackman P.T. Barnum movie, I think that's the biggest injustice of this all. Like, if you're going to take two epic talents in Orton and Edge and have them fight, I mean, you're already billing it as the greatest wrestling match ever. So if that does not headline that pay-per-view, what is that pay-per-view? It's
I mean,
one of those.
we don't know the greatest match of all time is what was it, like Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle or whatever?
Well, it depends on your point of view, right? If you want to go with something with Shawn Michaels, I would say that probably the greatest match of all time was I'd say second match with The Undertaker, second WrestleMania match with The Undertaker.
What was the one that he descended from the roof in like the White Cross?
The first one.
That was a visual I was not expecting, but a cool one.
It was an awesome visual. I love that visual. The storytelling in that match was amazing. But yeah, so I mean, I'm kind of interested to see where they go because they're building it up now. So I'm expecting it to go at minimum 30 minutes. You kind of start getting those things, like you said, Michaels matches, or Rock and Austin at WrestleManias, or hell, Hogan Rock at WrestleMania. What was it, 18, 17, 18, something like that. And technically, if you look at the technical stuff, that's not necessarily a great match. What makes that great match great is the crowd.
Yeah, but that's the claim to fame with the greatest. Randy Orton and Edge have both built their careers on both being like sneaky, opportunistic, underhanded heels.
Yeah,
like that's when they've had the most success. That's what they've been most of their careers. So like you take two opportunists, you know what I mean? It's just like, all right, they're both just gonna kind of. It's like who's gonna cheat first? Like it's very hard to swallow the greatest wrestling match ever, and you're like, neither one of these guys are technicians.
heel on heel matchup doesn't always work, and neither does face on face. And I agree with you. To be perfectly honest with you, if there's any match that I'm looking forward to that's coming up, and I'm going to exclude NXT because I always have a laundry list of things that I look forward to at an NXT takeover. But the match that I'm looking forward to the most is going to be the Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match for the Intercontinental Championship.
That's way better. Greatest match ever.
Well, I perfectly agree with you. You're not going to get an argument on me on that. From what I understand, it's already been taped, and from what I'm hearing out of people that would like you to believe that they're in the know. Are they in the know? I don't know. Is that match is in early, well, not necessarily early at this point, but that match is a contender right now for match of the year, which is exactly what I would expect out of AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan.
but those two are like, there are people that became wrestlers and became great wrestlers. Like, I feel like the Daniel Bryan, the AJ Styles, and even so much as you have like your naturals, like those two, like Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, naturals. The Undertaker, great wrestler, but he had to hone a character and he had to laser focus his character, and he became a great wrestler off of that. You know, like Stone Cold was stunning Steve Williams and the Ringmaster and this and this and this, and he found a character and he honed his wrestling skills in on that character. But like, it's just, there's something about like AJ Styles or whatever, just like that man was born for a wrestling ring. And I wish we could rewind the time 15, 20 years and put a 35-year-old AJ Styles against a 35-year-old Shawn Michaels.
That'd be a great match.
That would be wonderful.
That would be amazing.
You know, but we're never going to get those lines crossed. We're never really going to have, you know, like The Rock and John Cena happened, but it wasn't like John Cena was never destined to win people over in that match because The Rock was the one that showed up every 3 months. But if it was The Rock that was at the house shows in and out, day in and day out, it could have been a different outcome. But like, I don't know. I digress. I'm ranting, but
I get what you're saying.
You're gonna see that matchup that you want to see when you get WWE 2K 2022,
right?
Because they're skipping 2021.
Well,
but yeah, no, I agree with you. If I could cherry pick wrestlers at their prime, that's a match that I would watch all day long.
Not even at their prime. I would argue that Shawn Michaels did not hit his stride until
after he came back from the
without a doubt. Yeah, he was in his early 40s when he really hit his peak.
2000s.
Yeah,
like when he had like
after that SummerSlam match where he came back against Triple H, and then he entered that full-time run.
Yeah, didn't he win the title at that point too? Somewhere in there.
Oh yeah.
Title. But it's just that, like, you know, he wasn't 20-something. He wasn't, you know, he was a good wrestler then. But it's, you know, when you have
30-something, then he was in his early 40s at that point.
It's just crazy. Like, he had the laser focus, he had the timing, but he's always had it. But this just made it like, you know, when Shelton Benjamin he kicked Shelton. I thought he killed Shelton Benjamin on Raw. Like, one of the few times I've marked out Shelton Benjamin to do that jump off the top rope, and I was like, no, he's dead. Like, I had stopped, you know, and like turned. I was like, no, guys, you know, with your buddies, I'm in my early 20s. Like, he has to be dead. There's no way he's not. He looks like he killed. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, if you could cherry pick, I mean, I would like to see 1999, 2000 Stone Cold against 2009 CM Punk, or against Stone Cold against Kevin Owens right now. Could you imagine? Like,
oh, I'd watch the hell out of that. Yeah, I would definitely watch the hell out of that.
But it just, anyways, my original point is, it just seems like right now the WWE is kind of in a holding pattern. Like, they're just kind of seeing where the world, they're like, we're not going to make any super hard decisions one way or the other until we see where the world's going. But I am curious to know what Matt Riddle's going to do on SmackDown.
Yeah, that should be good. I think so. From what I heard, they put Riddle on SmackDown to keep him away from Lesnar because of the heat that they've had in the past. I would definitely. So when he came out and he said he wanted to retire Brock Lesnar, I mean, who wouldn't? If you're in NXT and you want to get more exposure and you want to make your career, who wouldn't want to retire Brock Lesnar? Are you kidding me? When they went to Baron Corbin and said, "Hey, we're going to have you," or when Kurt went to him and said, "Hey, I want to have you retire me," are you kidding me? Does Baron Corbin go, no,
I'm all good, thanks. Yeah.
That's going to be horrible for my career. Are you kidding me? I can't have that match. Bullshit. He was like, yeah, I'll absolutely do it. The rub that he gets. So I think that the reports that I heard of Riddle having heat backstage, I think that's a little ridiculous. But I would love to see Riddle versus Lesnar. I'd sit there. I'd watch that. That would be a matchup that I would watch with Riddle on the main roster, or Riddle on SmackDown now. But I mean, with the way that they do that for what did they brought back that 4 superstars a year can travel between brand BS or something
the
like
wild card thing that they did.
Yeah, the wild card rule is low key back. It's not the wild card rule anymore, but it's close.
But what's funny though is like if I know anything about like what I read or see, like Brock Lesnar is a like loner, little bit of a hillbilly. Like he likes his farm, he likes his family, he likes his hunting. You know what I mean? Like who is the person that would rub him the wrong way? The stoner surfer kid with long hair that comes in half his size talking the most shit. Like if there's anybody that would just rub Brock up one side and down another the wrong way, it would just be like, bro, what's up? Just like Brock, like, oh.
But that's the kind of matchup that Vince would love, right?
Is Matt Riddle's even there though? I mean,
who there?
Is Matt Riddle there? Like, is he
Is he at that level? You mean?
I mean,
is he to take out Brock now?
I just mean to like main event a pay-per-view. Like, does he have like big fish, small pond, small fish, big pond? You know what I mean? Does he have the skill set? Does he have the ring awareness? You know what I mean? To really draw in a crowd. If they put him in a main event scene.
Right this second, no. Will he? I can almost guarantee you he will. And this is my own personal. When I started watching Matt Riddle when he came into NXT, I was not a Matt Riddle fan.
Yeah, I was fairly annoyed with him, which I think was his goal.
Yeah, and it may very well have been. I was not a Matt Riddle fan at all in any way, shape, and or form. But slowly but surely, though, I came to enjoy his matches. I think I enjoyed him the most when he was with Pete Dunne in the tag team, the Broserweights, and he had that straight man to play off of, right? Because Dunne character-wise is, again, very similar to Lesnar, where he's quiet, he goes out there, he beats the shit out of you, and then he goes back to the locker room. I think that if is Matt Riddle at that point right now? No, give him time. Give him 3 to 5 years, and I guarantee you will be like, wow, that Matt Riddle, man, he can put on one hell of a match. Will he be your favorite? Is he my favorite? No. Is he a guy that if you're like, oh, I'm gonna put on this Matt Riddle match, am I gonna say absolutely not? No. I'm going to watch that match because I know it's going to be something that is entertaining.
Do you, now in that same vein, oh shit, I lost it. I had a question and it's gone.
Who's the old one?
Come back to me.
By the way, Wade.
What's that?
It goes in the mail.
Is there anybody currently in the WWE roster that is like Matt Riddle's one of those guys that 20 years ago a Bradshaw and a Farouk or a Bob Holly would have humbled in the ring pretty quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
But is there anybody in the roster that does that? Like, is there even anybody that...
Is there an enforcer?
I mean,
by and large,
I wouldn't call the word an enforcer. I'm just saying, like, they're not enforcing anything. It's just like it's It's almost like these millennial rules have took over the WWE.
I think last year maybe you could make the argument that Roman might have been that guy. To the extent, I know what you're talking about. To the extent that either Bob Holly or what's his name wrestled under the name Hugh Morris, and eventually got
Ed. What's his name?
Yeah, he was the trainer who eventually got kicked out.
Bill DeMott. There we
go. Bill DeMott. Thank you. Does anybody of that ilk there? No, but I think I think when they wanted to set somebody straight, they maybe like pair him with Roman or something like that.
I think the closest thing that you have to circle it back is probably Brock Lesnar, but that's only when you do something to Brock Lesnar. If you remember a couple of years ago when Strowman was initially fighting Lesnar, he accidentally punched Brock in the back of the head or kicked him or something like that. And Brock turned around and gave him a full-on shoot punch to the face and was just basically like, don't ever do that again.
I thought that he punched Brock and then Brock like grabbed him in a tie clinch and like gave him a legit like 2 knees in the face.
No, it was kind of like a headlock and punch right to the side of the head. And Braun was talking about it backstage that they even ended up laughing about it afterwards. But it was definitely it was Brock sending a receipt Braun's way, letting him know that he was being a little too stiff, and yeah.
I mean, I know the old WWE culture versus the new WWE locker room is what got Bill DeMott canceled. Calling people pansies and yelling at them and screaming at them and them complaining to the higher ups, and then finally it's they had to can him because he was he called us names and he made us feel bad and he said hurtful things but it's
I think a lot of it had to do with too he was very not necessarily just demeaning, calling names and things like that. He would take personal shots at people.
Yeah.
I understand that back in the day, that's how you motivated a wrestler. That's how you made sure a wrestler could, quote unquote, survive in the industry. You put that person through holy hell, and if they could survive it, then they could be a wrestler.
But we were hearing reports of him doing severe verbal abuse, some bordering on like sexual abuse with the women, and just not good things at all.
I was just thinking about that one episode of Tough Enough. Remember, I forget what the kid's name was. I don't think he made it as a wrestler where Bob Holly was there and the kid was like laughing again, like just being an ass kind of at Bob Holly's expense. And Bob Holly's like, all right, get in the ring with me. And Bob Holly just beat the dog shit out of that kid.
Yeah, I think his name was Matt, right? I think that was the kid who had the long hair and the bandana.
And something like that. And then that's where Bob Holly
got cancer, I think.
Where Bob Holly looked and said, all right, stupid, like, you get in, we're going to teach you a lesson.
Yeah.
That if you make the person you trusting with your health and safety and well-being mad, what they're going to do to you.
Yep. Yeah, and Bob stomped a hole through him. I mean, kid's mouth was bleeding at the end, and it was, yeah. No, I remember the exact episode you're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't watch through the Tough Enough years, but
well, just go on YouTube later and find it. The kid was just Bob Holly was trying to teach a class, and the kids just
let's go on the network. I'll watch the whole episode.
I was just gonna say, funny enough, like that's one of the first things I did when I got access to your network, Lance. Is I was so excited. I went through and watched a bunch of Tough Enough, like the older seasons that the newer seasons that I didn't see, like the very last season they filmed at the old Performance Center, which was that season, and then the new stuff they filmed with Stone Cold being the host.
Yeah.
Yes.
My wrestling guilty pleasure, once I got the network back, I went back and wrestling gods, I'm sorry, I watched the WWE ECW.
Ooh.
Okay.
I started watching that. Well, because if you think about what came or who came out of that, right? You had CM Punk. He went there because Heyman wanted him there, right? So right off the bat, you get CM Punk. You get early CM Punk. That's worth it to me.
Oh, definitely.
You had Kelly. You had the guy who came out as the vampire. You had all of the ridiculous stuff that
Thorne,
Styles and Taz would say on the mic. You had the fact that they were on the Sci-Fi channel, and Sci-Fi was like, "Hey, can you put Sci-Fi stuff?" So every week they had some weird friggin' thing, a mummy or a zombie or Frankenstein or whatever, come out and just get the tar beat out of it, just because, right? Drunken Sandman, all the stuff that they did. They got Mark Henry out of that too, right? Mark Henry was just kind of floating around beforehand, and then he went to WWE. Then he went to ECW, and that's when he became a villain, teamed up with Tony Atlas, and that's what evolved into House of Pain. Mark Henry. So I definitely there was some. I'm not gonna say that all of it was good, because it sure as hell wasn't.
No.
But you did have some good stuff coming out of that.
And especially because some of that ECW stuff canceled my beloved Stargate universe. That is a sin I can never forget or forgive.
I let a borrow buddy my WWE login credentials, and his thing was he started with like the first pay-per-view. Like he's gonna go through all of them. So it's like his day off, and I'd call him like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm watching like In Your House, like '92." You know, like what? It's like, yeah, just what I happened to be on. But that was his thing. He was going to watch all of the pay-per-views.
That's impressive.
I
actually was thinking about going back and watching the first In Your House the other day, just because of that skit that Triple H, Michaels, and Road Dogg did when they introduced it. And Road Dogg was like, "Oh, you had a match, and you had a match. Wait, didn't you have a match?" And like it wasn't until the end where Road Dogg was like, "Oh yeah, you got covered in pig crap wrestling." Who was it? Henry O. Godwin or something like that?
Godwin, yep. A pig slop match or whatever.
Yeah, I may go back. I still haven't gotten back to watch it, but I think I'm gonna eventually.
Well, if you don't have to watch the entire episode of that Tough Enough. You just got to watch like that 6-minute segment where like it's just funny because Bob Holly has zero patience for people in life in general, and I think that kid that he got was one of those like his dream in life is not to be a wrestler. His dream in life is to be a reality TV star. So like Bob Holly's going to learn you real quick. You know, where some of the other people are like, well, stupid, you shouldn't have done that.
It's always fun to watch Bob Holly smarten somebody up. Not really, but I may go back and watch.
I agree. I think it is fun to watch. I mean, Bob had such a unique work ethic there at the WWE, and for better or for worse, however you want to look at it, it got him places. It maybe not, I don't know. I always enjoyed him. I personally think he should have gotten a little higher than the mid-card status he got, but
his position in the company reminds me a lot of like what Dolph Ziggler is nowadays. Like
Dolph Ziggler does that voluntarily.
Yeah.
Because like Nick has his comedy. He doesn't want to be the top star right now because he's got so much other stuff going on.
Right, and that's happened in the past couple of years, but he's been languishing in the mid card almost his entire career.
I think it's always been like that. I think that he wants to be that guy that puts people over, and he's always wanted to be that guy. So I don't know that I would call it languishing per se. He's chosen that. What's happened in the last few years is WWE hasn't been as tight-fisted as what you can go out and do for side projects.
Right, and that's what he ended up doing because he came to terms with his position in the company. Like, all right, I'm no longer going to invest myself as hard as I am. I'm going to diversify.
Again, but that's where I slightly disagree. Like, I don't think he said, okay, well, I'm never going to be the big star, so I'm just going to do other things. I think he said, oh, I'm good at comedy. There are all these other things. So I'm purposefully not going to be the big star. And maybe, maybe we're talking such a minute difference there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Nate, I got it. I have to agree with you, especially if everything that I've seen in interviews with him. Chris Van Vliet is obviously
Oh, his
a big
CVV interviews are so fun.
Yeah. I don't think Nick ever wanted to be the top guy. I think he wanted it on early in his career. He got a taste of it, and he said, "You know what? It's more rewarding for me to put people over than it is for me to be the top guy."
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you listen to a lot of, out of kayfabe interviews, and everybody almost says the same thing. Like, at the end of the day, it's not necessarily having the big prize around your waist. It's having good matches. That's what your goal is in the company. If one of those good matches includes a championship shot, well, that's just gravy. But
Yeah.
you just want to be remembered for working well.
I guess.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of a shift in mind. So going back to what Wade was talking about, when we were talking about a shift in mindset backstage, I think that's another shift in mindset backstage that WWE performers have had, right? Because let's face it, the top guys make the top money, sure, but even the low to mid card guys now, they make really good money that they can even do other things. So a lot of it is now. It used to be you had to be a top guy to make the money, and even then, the old Carney saying or old wrestling saying, the money was never in being a performer. The money was being a promoter. So back in the day, the goal was to save up enough money from being a performer to buy your own promotion and become a promoter. Then it slowly changed where the goal was, okay, I want to get into the top promotion and be the top guy there because that's going to set me up for life. I don't have to become a promoter if I don't want to. And I think that's continued to evolve now into I want to be with the top company or one of the top companies. I want to work well, and I'll get the money that I need to take care of me now based on where the industry is and what its exposure is. So I think there's been that shift in mindset as well where people are more, and I mean, you could blame it on generational millennials or whoever you want. I think the shift in mindset has gone from I have to be the top guy because I need to be it, not be out of professional desire, but out of a monetary compensation factor, to I want to be one of the best I want to be considered one of the best at the job that I do. And then the compensation will come. So it's a shift in really the exposure of the industry and how much money the industry is making has made it more profitable now well, it's not necessarily more profitable, but for the wrestler who's working their way up, the exposure level that the industry has right now has made it so that you can, once you get to WWE, you can get that money that will allow you to do the things that you want to do without being the guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of that started probably close to 10 years ago when John Cena decided to kind of become, when he, remember, was he the U.S. champ? Because Cody Rhodes is doing it with the TNT belt right now. You know, where
Yes.
he's like, we're going to defend this anytime, every week I'll be out here to defend this. You're like, well, John Cena did it with the U.S. championship. He did it well. But
Oh, yeah,
like,
he did.
that was always good television because John Cena just came out and said, anybody?
Yeah.
And once it hit, and it was always a surprise whether or not it was like Carlito.
And that's what the whole stipulation, when he started treating that belt like, if you think back to the old WCW days and the TV championship, that's exactly what the gimmick of the TV championship was, is it was defended every week. And, John Cena started treating the U.S. title like that, and the TNT championship is just the TV championship in another name. But yeah, I think that there's definitely a relationship there, that the where you're trying to connect the dots there, Wade. I think that definitely could, an argument could be made there.
See, I think it almost started before then. I think it started probably when you started to phase some of the Attitude Era guys out. When you got into that, when you started getting into what was the era after the Ruthless Aggression?
Yeah.
I think really where you start seeing that change in attitude is from the end of Ruthless Aggression into the PG era, which is actually at the start of John Cena more as a. So I agree it's John Cena, but I think it's really the start of John Cena as the champion on SmackDown, right? When he beats JBL in, what is it, 2003 to 2008, somewhere in there. So I think it goes back a little bit farther than his U.S. title run to when he started in the PG era. I think once they got into the PG era, that's when you started to see more of the shift.
Yeah, I would say like John Cena was, as it stands right now, John Cena was the last great top of the mountain superstar the WWE had. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anybody that's even come close to him since he kind of started fading off into the sunset. They've tried pushing people, and people have stepped up to be there for it, but they've not gotten the recognition. So I would, like I said, I was saying when John Cena started to peel himself away from the world title situation, and there was this just revolving cast of people that all got opportunities to be champion. You know, if you weren't a champion, you still were. If you weren't champion, you still were kind of in the mix with other guys who were champion. Because there's not been one guy that just stands out as like the greatest thing since sliced bread. That the John Cena was, and then before the John Cena, the Stone Cold or the Rock.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that we haven't really seen that one guy step up where everybody, and I don't think it's necessarily to say everybody, but I don't think that we've seen that guy grab the proverbial brass ring and really step up and just be the guy. I think Roman Reigns, in what you said, where they tried to push, right? They tried to push Roman, and it didn't really work out the way that they wanted to. I view Roman probably more in line with The Undertaker more than I view him in line with like John Cena or Stone Cold or The Rock. But yeah, I don't think they have that one guy right now that is a must-see guy. I don't think they have a guy that is a must-see draw at this point.
And anytime someone looks like they've been on the edge of being that guy, it almost just feels like Vince just squishes them back down. You know what I mean? Like, Finn Balor, when he won the championship and had to relinquish it, and he came back from injury. Like, people just were just chomping at the bit. Braun Strowman, he's champion right now, but his heat died down a little bit. Like, he's
Yeah, it did. His window was
Braun Strowman 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any time that I think Balor could have another successful go at it, it'd probably be now when nobody's really expecting it.
Which would be awesome, except that right now he's with NXT.
Oh yeah, no,
I have no issues with him being in NXT. I think
he asked to go down, or did they ask him to go down?
I don't really think it's as much going down. I think he wanted to go down. I think there was an opportunity there for him on that roster, and they said, "Look,
freedom and able to hone your skill." Yeah.
They also wanted him in NXT, so that way, theoretically, he would have been able to show up at the NXT UK live events, which, of course, have gotten derailed in the current situation. But I think that was the overall plan, was to get Balor in NXT UK and start having him do matches in NXT UK to help get that brand a little bit more off the ground, because they were setting before all the lockdowns, they were setting up a match between him and Walter in NXT UK for the NXT UK title. So that would have been, oh man, I would have watched the hell out of that. But that got derailed.
You're saying they're being racist towards him, like we talked a couple of podcasts ago about whenever they're going to sweep through India or Mexico, how the championship just changes hands. So they're like, we need NXT's coming up. We're gonna put it on Balor. All right.
Not necessarily that. I think they would have used Balor to elevate NXT UK in the US and with the regular NXT. Because so I don't know, Wade, how much, if any, NXT UK you've watched?
Oh God, that's very minimal.
So it's a really good product. The NXT UK takeovers, each one of those, they happen a little less frequently, but each one of those are on par with some of the best NXT takeovers, which NXT...
Yeah, the one we watched was pretty damn good.
It's freaking awesome. I'm a huge fan. The downside is it's not always on my weekly radar, right? So what ends up happening with me is I used to, when NXT was on the network, go in every Wednesday, and I would sit there and I would watch NXT, I would watch NXT UK, and I would watch 205 Live. Since NXT has gone quote-unquote mainstream, I've stopped watching NXT and I've stopped watching 205 Live. And that's unfortunate just in general, because they are putting on some really good stuff, and NXT UK stuff is super good. If you're a fan of NXT, you're going to love NXT UK. It's a little bit more, I don't know that I want to call it gritty, but it's definitely a different feel than NXT.
It's the British style of wrestling. It's that ground and pound,
Love it, but you still have your variations from your different characters. You've got your Flash Morgan Webster and oh god, who's the Mod Father there? Why am I blanking on his name? But that tag team, who are those two smaller guys who are British high flyers, so they take the British style and they kind of combine it with the high flying style, which ends up being a really unique, entertaining offense. You've got Mark Mark Coffey, Joe Coffey, and Wolfgang, who form Gallus, who are all of Celtic descent, and they walk around kind of like you would see like a British gang in a movie kind of deal, and they're entertaining. You've got Imperium, who are now your NXT tag team champions, but they are basically the axis of evil from World War II. Walter's from Austria. Then you've got Marcel Bartel from Germany. You have it's Marcel Bartel and Alexander Wolf, formerly of Sanity, now in Imperium. They're both from Germany. And then you have Fabian Eichner, who's Italian. Just for fun, you could throw a manager in there who's Japanese, and there you go. Now you have the entire axis of evil from World War II. But they're all highly entertaining. In fact, Marcel Bartel, I think that guy, he's gonna when that tag team or him individually hits, or now that he's in NXT, he's gonna get a lot more exposure. He was in NXT before, then primarily went to NXT UK. He's a second generation wrestler. That guy is just, I love his character. He's everything that you expect a German villain to be, except for obviously being a Nazi. He's awesome. Just an awesome character. So there's a lot of positive to NXT UK. It's highly entertaining, but I know for a fact that WWE isn't getting the attention to NXT UK that they want. So that's why that's one of the reasons that they had brought in Balor, to get more eyes on that product. Because if you tell the UK, hey guys, Finn Balor's coming home, that arena is packed.
Yeah. So before we move on here, does somebody want to stick a mirror under Dustin's nose, make sure everything's okay?
Well, I'm good.
I think he's got his phone down. He's got a computer program that every time it says Dustin, he's like, yo. Dustin, you there? Good.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right.
Before we move on, can we talk about what Nia Jax did to Kerry Saint's face?
Of course. Yeah. Nia Jax.
The super safe Nia Jax.
Not helping herself in the least bit here.
Got the buckle bomb banned. What did this happen last night on Raw?
It happened, but I think it was taped like a week ago or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like
she got the buckle bomb, and then she like bounced her face off the apron, and then bounced her face off the steps. Busted her open the hard way.
Well, that explains why the buckle bomb got banned.
Stupid ass Nia Jax.
She is not safe, and like nobody's really doing anything about it.
But that's the, I don't know, like we talked before, like I don't know if that's the rub. It's like, as a woman goes, she's a monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's most of these women nowadays, it seems like for the most part, are your Kerry Sane, Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks size. So when you put like somebody who is a freak of a woman size comparison wise, not even like fat or thick or whatever, just tall and muscular compared to those guys, like it's like throwing around toddlers, you know, and she just doesn't have the finesse or what it is.
So I don't think she's got the control yet. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you there.
That's the first thing you should learn before you kill somebody.
Wrestler, but I think what makes her so intriguing for WWE is that, don't forget, she is a member of the Anoa'i wrestling family.
She's barely.
it doesn't matter whether or not she's barely. If she can go backstage, send Dwayne a text, and then Dwayne texts Vince, that's all that's needed. It doesn't matter if she's barely a member or not. And she can do that. And from what I've heard in reports is when she was out of the company, well, not out of the company, but when she was on an LOA, what was it, last year before, something like that, the one that she just came back from, that was an extended LOA. It was a combination of surgery recovery and her just being unhappy with the company. That's what she did. She called up The Rock and got some advice from The Rock, and then she enacted on the advice from The Rock. And then when WWE was like, well, where is this coming from? And she's like, Dwayne. And they called up Dwayne, and he's like, yeah, no, I definitely told her to do that because it's going to put you guys in a position that you're going to have to use her.
And that's fine,
honestly,
but after she's injured her, she's at half a dozen or whatever. Like, I don't care how many times you call The Rock. Like, hey, stupid, she's putting the rest of the women's division on the injured reserve list.
I don't disagree with you. I think that the way, that's one of the ways she stays around, combined with, like as you said, her just physically dominating presence. Um, I think that if we had the full rosters, because we know we don't have the full rosters at TV every week, I don't think they would have to rely on her as much. And I think that it would probably be a situation where they wouldn't rely on her as much as they do. But, we're kind of in the spot that we're in right now. And I don't think there's a great way or even a good way to get out of it at this point. And you could write her off, but how do you write her off? Like, what are you doing to write her off? And then if you write off your big monster heel, who comes in? We haven't seen Shayna in a while. Like I said, I didn't watch last night's Raw, so I don't know if Shayna's there or not. I would have
Becky's place on the intro, I think.
I don't know. I don't know.
And like, part of me wonders if like that's like a small portion of the reason they keep bringing Nia back is because, I mean, yes, she's the monster heel. Her size it's such an imposing factor. But you look at what she's done, and she created one of the most memorable moments in the women's division, and that is the punch to Becky.
Yeah.
So do they keep bringing her back, hoping to maybe catch lightning in a bottle twice? I don't know.
Or maybe they bring her back because she keeps injuring people. So you can play that up and play how dangerous she is by saying, hey, look, she's injured all of these superstars, right? Because God knows they've baked worse things into the storylines. I'm looking at you, Jeff Hardy, DWI from Friday night.
I hated that.
They've done worse things. Stone Cold, the 1996 promo. Everybody loved that 1996 King of the Ring promo. Remember, he's a heel. He's trashing Jake the Snake Roberts' sobriety and telling him to go be an alcoholic again. It's an awful promo. Everybody loves it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But if you look at the context of it, that's an awful promo. But that's what WWE does, right? They take a little bit of real life and they inject it into the storyline to make the storyline a little bit more real. So
right, and that might be where she's at right now. But if she doesn't get control of it, no one's going to want to work with her.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there.
Next, you're going to see her. You're going to see her in a match with fucking Brock Lesnar.
I mean, we almost got. What was the match with her that we almost got? We almost got Nia versus somebody, and I forget who it was.
Wasn't her and Otis were up each other's shit at the
That Money in the Bank, yeah.
Yeah.
And when she came into the Men's Royal Rumble for a bit, and
she knocked out R-Truth.
She was, yeah, I think she knocked out R-Truth, and then they were supposed to have a because they did it back-to-back years with her and the Royal Rumble. So, like, she injured somebody on the women's side, and then they did it again, same thing with the men's side, and then she was allegedly gonna have a program with. It wasn't gonna be R-Truth, it was gonna be somebody else, and now I can't remember who it was. Where's my Google? Google is my friend. It's gonna drive me nuts till I think of it. Let's see. Dean Ambrose. That's who it was going to be. They were going to have. Because originally when Dean looked like he was going to be leaving the company, that's when that Royal Rumble was. They were going to have him leave the company with a loss to Nia Jax.
Oh, did she eliminate him at the Rumble or something?
Something like that, yeah. And that was the setup for it. So there was going to be this whole program between her and Nia Jax that he was going to end up leaving the company with a loss to Nia Jax. And then he just stopped showing up to TV or something like that. I mean, he just fizzled out. Or she got hurt, one of the two. Probably a little bit of both. But yeah, that storyline ended up getting scrapped because WWE still doesn't want to do that whole men versus women angle anymore because of where they've come from. Although it's funny because that was one of Candice LeRae's specialties, because she used to tag team with Joey Ryan back on the indies, and that was one of her specialties, that she would wrestle the guys. And they signed her, and they arguably took one of the best people in wrestling to do that kind of thing, and just took her out of that completely. Although we'll see what happens coming up in the next couple of weeks here, because she's got Wednesday this week. We're going to get Nia Jax versus everybody's favorite Mia Yim. And then at In Your House on Saturday or Sunday, whenever they're going to air it, it's going to be Gargano versus Keith Lee for the North American Championship.
Oh, hell yeah.
So since we're talking about wrestlers in their prime, can we do Nia Jax now versus Andy Kaufman in the late 70s?
Sure.
I'd watch that. Yeah, I'd watch that. That would be very fun.
You could just go side Nia Jax versus Seth Rollins and see who hurts who first.
Right. No, I'll see her versus Brock.
And you know what? We joke about it, but it probably would be an entertaining match.
You know, Vince would have. Can you imagine, like, Vince and Paul Heyman back there at Brock? Like, listen, she's going to pin you for 2. And he's like, what? They're like, listen, just hear us out. Listen, just hear us out.
I would definitely be. It'd be fascinating. Maybe have Sable interfere. Attempt to give her the Sable bomb.
Oh god! And before we do that, let's do the Undertaker and his dumb wife.
Speaking of which, has anybody watched episode 3? I have not yet, but
I've turned it on 3 times and I've yet to see the whole thing. I keep falling asleep.
Oh, yeah, that's probably going to be later tonight. So one of the reasons we started recording a little later tonight, and that is because my dad had 2 of his old fraternity brothers on over, and oh man, for 70-year-old guys, they know how to party. So I'll be up until probably 3-4 a.m. because I'm preparing a meal for them tomorrow. I'm smoking a huge pork butt, which is probably going to take about 12 or so hours.
Don't forget to wrap it.
Yeah. Wrap it at 165. Let it rock till 200.
Let it go through the stall.
So I'm gonna have a lot of time tonight to catch up on some stuff.
Yeah.
But seriously, those old guys, they can still party.
Are they handsome?
But they know how to drink, and it was like, wow, I'm almost having a tough time.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, I haven't gotten too bad in a while.
So let's
Is that our
segue.
here?
That's our transition. That's our segue. What is everybody drinking tonight?
Tonight I've got a cherry vanilla Coca-Cola
All right.
because I'm getting wild. But this weekend I did pick up, what was it that I sent you the picture of? It was
the unicorn piss beer or something like that.
Yeah, it was Concord Brewing Company's Safe Space. It
Right.
was an India Pale Ale with some tropical fruity overtones. And I generally don't like fruity beer, but it was pretty good.
Mm. Yeah. It wasn't bad, but I was mildly disappointed with Stone Cold's beer. Just because it was like just a typical West Coast style IPA. Like I don't know what I was expecting. I was hoping for more than what it was. But it wasn't. Just because it was a typical West Coast IPA doesn't mean it was a bad one. It just not my favorite style. Today though, I had a Manhattan earlier in the day, and then a bunch of beers with the guys and pizza and yeah, it's fun. Surprising to me, it was a really fun time. Wade, how about yourself? Have you are you rocking that ginger beer yet?
I'm drinking it right now. It finally popped about, oh gosh, I don't know, Thursday or Friday in the last week. I went to burp it and it almost blew up in my hands, and I was like, "Oh, you're ready." So I went through. I took my neighbors down a bottle, and then the wife, she makes a kefir, and she sent me. She washed the bottle. They drank it. She washed the bottle out, and she sent me down some water kefir, but she put either grape syrup or grape juice in it, and she basically made like homemade grape soda, which I took a drink and I was like, damn it, this is really good too. Like now I'm gonna be brewing my own, and it's just the same thing. You just make your own yeast, and then you put it in the bottle and it ferments, and you can put whatever you want. The wife and I started looking up recipes. People are making like sparkling lemonade, or it's just basically like a homemade pop, and it's got all the probiotics and bullshit in it.
Yeah, very low alcohol content.
What?
Very low alcohol content.
Very low. Yeah, there's ways to make it more alcoholic, but the ginger beer is excellent. I mean, my neighbor, he's a pastor, and I gave it to him. He's like, this is a really refreshing summer drink, and I was like, it is. You're right.
I'm glad to hear it came out so well.
It was just a lot of patience.
Man, I may have to scroll back up and look at that link you sent and try that out myself.
Well, what it was one of those, like, I did it, and then I did it for the days that the guy on the recipe said. But then come to find out, his dumbass lives in Austin, Texas. You know what I mean? Like the humidity and the heat there all the time. And here I am in Michigan. So like the first couple of days I was hopeful. And then like the next couple days, I was like, all right, well, maybe because it's the temperature's fluctuating so much here, it might take a couple days. Like the next couple of days where I totally did it wrong and I must have killed my entire ginger bug. I should probably throw it out and start again. And then like we didn't have the air conditioning on and it went like 80 degrees for like 3 days. And that was just like the kicker it needed.
And then like spark it back to life.
Yeah, on like the fourth. Well, it was waiting for it to carbonate. So you got to get the ginger bug in there to eat the sugar and burp and fart out CO2 to carbonate it. And it was like, all right, I'm not doing it right. And then finally, like it was like the day before, I felt like I was just gonna pour it out, and I went to pop the top, and it boomed so loud it scared my wife in another room. That she had to see what I was doing. Like, I think it's ready.
Awesome. I'm really glad to hear it came out so well. Dustin, how about yourself?
Just some boring Diet Coke for me tonight.
That's fair. Yeah, that's what I've been drinking the past bit of the podcast here. So.
Yeah, but Dustin actually means cocaine. Like.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Just some boring old Diet Coke.
Just shooting lanes, shooting lines. All right. That's what I like to. That's what I like to hear. So toy wise, what's up? We want to go around, like, see what everybody got.
Oh my God, I'll start. It's been a fucking week.
Do it.
GameStop had that, like, a lot of their action figures off on like super clearance.
Yep.
I had to log into so if I logged into my GameStop account, I could add a bunch of stuff to my cart, and I couldn't do in-store pickup. I had to have it shipped to me. If I logged out of my GameStop account and then like cleared my cache and cookies and then just selected the store that was closest to me, I got to place a whole second order of shit that was in my store that I couldn't find online. So I've not gotten my order in the mail yet, but I went and picked up like a Marvel Legends sized Goku, McFarland, All Might, McFarland, Izuku Midoriya, a bunch of like blind bags of Overwatch stickers, some keychains. I got all that for like $14.
Nice.
And then coming in the mail either tomorrow or maybe Thursday, I have like a Neem Droid, Torbjorn from Overwatch. He was like $87 on sale for $10. I got the Lightning Collection Goldar. He was $20 down to $5.
Whew.
I have like another like $45 order coming in. And then today I got the Hot Toys Yondu. I've been looking for one. I found one sealed over in the Philippines. It took about between getting a hold of them, ordering it, paying for it, and getting here took about a month. And then I was talking to my wife, and I like basically cashed in my Father's Day and my birthday gift and said,
that. I did.
I said, I want this Hulkbuster. And she was like, all right, well, we can start saving up money and get it for you. I said, well, listen, this is the rub. If we wait till my birthday, which is August 2nd, it might not be in stock. It might be long gone. You know, I said, so can we just order it now and it can just sit in the basement until my birthday? Like, it'll be hard, but as long as it's in our possession, I just want to I would rather be safe than sorry. And my wife's like, listen, you know how your mom doesn't like giving you cash. What she does, she goes, she wants you to open something. And I was like, cool. When it comes in the mail, we'll take it to my mom's house and she can wrap it up for me for August. I don't give a good shit. That should be here Thursday. But yesterday I went to my parents' house. Now it's fucking 70 degrees here. It was like 65 degrees is the high here in Michigan yesterday. My stepdad calls me. His pool liner's got a hole in it somewhere, a pinhole. And he's almost 70 years old. And he's like, I can't find it. Can you help me find it? So I go over to their house in 65-degree weather, put on my bathing suit, and I can't hold my like I don't know. I've not been in a pool playing since I was a child, like playing. Yeah. So I can't hold my breath for more than 30 seconds at a time. And I was I can't sink to the bottom like I used to. Like I was fighting to stay under the water. Spent like 2 hours in this pool, found the stupid hole, and then I came up and I had put in my stepdad's ear, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago that I wanted a Hulkbuster for my birthday, and he just rolled his eyes at me. So I was like, all right, listen, now I'm doing you favors. I'm just letting you know I bought my birthday gift, and I'm just going to ask for cash for my birthday to put on it. He goes, what'd you buy? And I told him, and he was like, fuck you, god damn it. And I was like, what? He's like, I bought you one. And I was like, you did what?
What?
He's like, I bought you one, but I was trying to keep it as a secret. And then he was kind of mad at me. And I was like, now listen. I said, what you have to understand is these things, they just sell out. They, even when they're still in pre-order status, they will just sell out and will be, I said, I didn't do it because I needed instant gratification. I didn't do it because I wanted to just pay for it. I said, I did it because I wanted to make sure I secured one. And he's like, listen, he's like, every time I ask you to do something, you just come over and do it. You know, like as I'm sitting in it, I'm like shivering, blue lips in a bathing suit and a towel. He's like, so I just bought it for you. And he's like, God damn it, you ruined the surprise. So he looks at my wife and he's like, did you tell him about it? And I looked at my wife and I was like, you knew? She's like, I tried. She tells my stepdad, I tried so hard to talk him out of buying it. But there was no way to talk him out of buying it without
ruining the surprise.
You ordered him one. Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, I got a Hulkbuster for sale if anybody's interested. Because mine should be here Thursday, and then the one my parents ordered should be here like next week.
Or you have one displayed like with your stuff, and then you have one displayed open up with, you know, an Iron Man inside.
Nate, I think it's time for you to step up to Big Boy Toys. He was only like $1,200.
Displayed with all the battle damage armor plates, and one displayed clean.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
There's one battle damage plate on it. Thank you very much. If I were so bougie that I had to have 2 of them for one battle damage plate.
You don't have to have 2 of them. You happen to have 2 of them. That's
that.
Right.
See?
But if I listen though, but if I take that one that I bought myself contains my Father's Day gift, my birthday gift, everything else.
So you get all that back if.
So I get all that back, and then all of like the rewards points I'm gonna get from it and shit like that. Like
that's ridiculous.
I'm like hitting 2 or 3 different. Like I was like, awesome. So it's like, all right. Told my wife, I was like, oh well, now you better figure out something for Father's Day because. You just talked yourself right out of my gift.
Man, if I could afford to pick that second one up from you, dude, I fucking would, but I can't.
I mean, come on.
Not even close. Oh. I mean, and I'm thankful that I'm not a bigger Marvel fan than I am. Otherwise, it would be killing me. But
listen, number one, like you could buy the diecast like Mark 43, and it fits down inside it, but it also comes with just a bust.
I know.
The belly up that just fits in it, and it lights up, so you can open it up, and it looks like Iron Man sitting in it. I'm like,
and you get the articulation of the Hulkbuster with it, because like once you stick the full suit in there, it becomes a statue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I seen that Hulkbuster, man, when my comic book shop had it in. And they had it in their display case where they keep all their Hot Toys and stuff. It's ridiculous. It's the biggest fucking toy I've ever seen in my life. It's it's wrong to call it a toy, but
I guess or Plan C. I mean, which I don't think I would do because then I would ruin it. Is hold on to it till Secret Santa.
Oh yeah.
And just ruin everybody else's Christmas.
You would make somebody cry so hard. Like,
listen,
imagine if Jim got it. Imagine if Jim got it
this year. No matter what.
Oh man, that would be worth watching his reaction.
Oh yeah.
Lance, how about yourself? What have you acquired this week?
Nothing. I haven't really gotten anything. I'm still checking Hasbro Pulse every couple times a day for C-Wing to come in. Other than that, all I did was finish up my custom tip top. So I have Titans Return Quake. He's one of the Target Master Juniors, those double Target Masters that came out, and I want to say it was like 88, 89. So I went out and I had bought an extra blowpipe, and I had bought an extra. The hell is Hot Rods?
It's well, Hot Rods is Hot Rods is Firestorm or something like that.
No, I think the current one is or the current name they're using for it is
Fire Drive.
But it wasn't originally Fire Drive, if I remember.
Yeah.
So I bought an extra Fire Drive and I brought an extra blowpipe. Fire Drive, since he has the double barrel, I turned him into Heater, which was just pretty much a black or almost all black repaint of him. I painted his shoulders blue and his thighs blue, and then the rest of the limbs black, covered up the Autobot symbol, threw him in gun mode, never to be taken out of, and then
glued him shut. He's in gun mode, glue.
Yeah. Gun mode, done. Then blowpipe, very similar thing. Blowpipe, his arms are so his biceps, triceps are yellow, his thighs are yellow, and then other than the core I left the same color. The rest of the limbs are all purple. That was kind of a pain in the ass to do. It took a few coats to get it done, but I ended up with Tip Top. So now I've got them both back on I've got Quake back on the shelf with both Tip Top and Heater. Outside of that, nothing.
All right.
Just for Massachusetts to open up and my boss fight order to ship, and then I'll go ahead and I'll customize a horse, because who doesn't want a Pegasus?
Fair enough. All right, Dustin, how about yourself?
Not a whole lot. I'm waiting on my Gigapower Sludge in the mail and my Infinite Transformation Dinobot in the mail. I ordered 4 of the Hydra Army builders from Hasbro Pulse.
Oh, those are the ones like they're like $5 cheaper because they're in the blind package box now.
Yeah, I think if I got that Mezco Iron Man, I think I can get some good, some cool pictures. Having them fight 4 Hydra soldiers.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, I picked up the McFarlane Golden Armor Wonder Woman. Total trash. That thing is trash. It's hot garbage. Don't buy it.
I'm getting mildly concerned with all this. I haven't paid too much attention about people's reviews on the new articulated McFarlane figures, but 9 times out of 10, I'm hearing that.
See, I don't know though, because like the Hellbat armor was really good, the Unchained Superman was really good, the regular comic, Action Comics 1000 Superman was really good. And I got Nightwing, which was also really good. So I had all those figures. I'm like, these are all sweet. Oh, and the Arkham Asylum Joker was really, really good.
Did you ever get to handle the Batman Beyond that they did?
No.
Yeah, that's why
Batman Beyond?
Fairly certain it was part of that DC line. I thought it was McFarlane that was doing it.
It was a Lobo wave, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was before McFarlane. That was the multiverse from Mattel.
Oh, that was Mattel.
That might have been the last wave of then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, never mind then.
I'll say the McFarlane My Hero Academia figures aren't bad.
Yeah, and I have Bloodshot and Spawn. I mean, those are all really good.
Those aren't even real.
Cage from the Mortal Kombat line was really good. Sub-Zero sucked ass.
Was Scorpion equally as bad?
I never bought Scorpion because he looked terrible.
Okay.
The Raiden looks pretty cool. I saw in-package pictures of him.
Yeah, I would buy that Raiden if the Storm Collectibles one wasn't coming out in a few months.
Mm.
But
yeah, so what I was gonna say is like I keep hearing a bunch of people talk. I'm hearing more bad than good. Like people aren't focusing on the good.
right.
And I get that the Kickstarter is pretty much, it's not based off any of that. It's its own beast, a figure designed from the ground up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I get mildly concerned off and on.
Yeah.
Well, Spawn is also one of those intellectual properties that you don't get. Like, if you don't like an Iron Man Marvel Legend that you just got, just wait a year because 2 or 3 more will come out. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Spawn figures seem like, here's a Spawn figure, then you wait 10 years, and you're like, here's a Spawn. Like, as a consumer, if I were a collector of Spawn, I would be mad if you had 10 years worth of action figure improvements to make shit better, and you didn't. Todd McFarlane does not give like Mezco Toys or SH Figuarts or Hot Toys his Spawn license. I don't think I've seen any sort of like third-party company tackle like a masterpiece style Spawn.
Medicom did a 1/6 scale Spawn.
Okay.
And it's stupid expensive to buy on the secondary market, but it was decent.
But it was an official release, or did they call it like,
no, it was official.
CIA assassin?
And what was it? Was it based off of the more classic or the more modern?
Oh, it was classic.
Okay. All right. Hey, you know what? Hey, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure I'll like it, and if I decide to get rid of it, I'm sure there's a good chance I'll make bank.
All right.
I got on eBay right now a 1/6 Medicom Spawn. $150 plus $20 shipping.
Oh, that's not bad. Wow.
Well, there's something wrong with the left leg, he says.
Oh, okay. I see them going in the groups, but usually I have like a custom cape or something, and they're like 400 plus.
Let's see.
Yeah, my comic shop got the AOA wave X-Men in, so I'm going to pick that up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, here it is. $574.
Yeah.
Medicom McFarlane Real Action Hero Spawn. But it just what I'm saying is that, anyways, I'm saying that Spawn doesn't come out so frequently that like people get to see like improvements on it or whatever. So the community's more vocal because they only get something every once in a great while.
Right.
So it's by the time your new stuff comes out, the stuff from the last Spawn wave you have is already starting to like degrade and fall apart.
Yeah.
Right. It is kind of strange that we've had this like Mortal Kombat Spawn, and then you're getting the Kickstarter Spawn all within the same year, technically, as long as it ships in November like it should.
Well, I'm positive that wasn't by accident.
Oh, yeah. No, but...
Go ahead.
No, that's... I'm sorry. That was it.
Oh, no, just... The Kickstarter is, you're right, a direct result of how popular it's only the time McFarlane's like testing the waters. Like, well, we're releasing a Mortal Kombat line, and since you let him in the game, can we just put a figure out? He's probably like, all right, we'll see how it tracks. And then they're like, all right, well, that's the only figure they all want from it. So,
yeah.
What do you want to do? Yeah. I don't want to pay. Even he's like, you can hear like old Todd McFarlane. Well, I want to put out a new figure, but I don't want to have to pay for it. Have I got a website for you?
Right.
It's called Kickstarter.
That worked like a dream for him.
Yeah.
Well, again, when you have a very loyal fan, it's almost like if the guy that created Calvin and Hobbes, Bill Watterson, came back out of the blue and said he wanted to make new Calvin and Hobbes strips because he stopped doing them in the mid to late 90s, and wanted a Kickstarter. And if you invested, he would have my money. Like, I would just throw it at him.
Right.
You know, like there's just some things that we're all fans of that like you might not even think about. It might not even come to your mind offhand. But it's one of those like you see a Kickstarter for Spawn figures, like, oh shit, let me see what this is.
Right. I mean, that's why initially he wrote me in for one, and then when he did the additional like sets, it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm in for two and an autograph.
Did you have to pay
Like,
additional
what's the
shipping
price?
for each one on yours, Dustin?
Do what?
Did you have to do additional shipping for each one that you?
No, I ended up just changing my pledge from the 1 to the 2-pack, so the shipping would just everything just kind of transferred over.
Yeah. You know what? I'm looking forward to it, whatever the case.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I actually picked up two things this week. I got the Voyager's Grapple and Starscream. Now, here's the thing. So I have Astro Train, Cliff Jumper, Wheeljack, Hoist, and Prime, and all five of those figures have been great QC. So I thought maybe finally the shit has been gotten together with the higher price point. Maybe they're paying attention to more in the designing, and Grapple and Starscream have let me down.
What's wrong with the Starscream?
Let me send you a couple pictures here.
Mine is like pretty tight.
So
yeah, mine's really good. I mean, except for some paint rub issues with the red paint and the rubbery plastic, but
so it doesn't fit together at all. And when I started in mid transformation, I figured out why that is. So that's how it looked straight out of the box, like when I just started to transform. And like I tried pushing it together and whatnot, and I figured out it's the left leg. So when I took out the left leg, it fits together perfectly. So basically, while we've been talking, I've been starting to perform minor surgery on him, and I need to grab some files to shave down some flashing in one of the disc joints. So I think I can fix them without a doubt. It's just the fact that I have to kind of bums me out.
Now I've heard about Grapple's peg situation on his feet.
Yes, and I did sand those down, and they're working great. I had to swap out arms on mine because it was one was just so floppy it couldn't even hold a pose at all. So thankfully that was just a replacement and a pin easily knocked out. And so he's fine now. He is definitely the better of the two. And I'll tell you what, now that I can safely transform Grapple and everything without worrying about him breaking, and it is a very easy fix. I shaved some plastic off the peg and then sanded around the outer half. It took me all of 10 minutes to do the whole thing, so it wasn't bad at all. But his alt mode is nice. I really enjoy it, and I'm really looking forward to the inevitable Inferno, and really keeping my fingers crossed for Generation Select's Artfire. My birthday's later this month, so I'm doing what I did last year, just putting in a bunch of pre-orders for stuff for September, October, November. So far, Scorponok and Skylinks are in.
Are you going to try to get your hands on What the fuck is his name? The triple change of the ape.
Ape Face?
Starscream. Yeah.
No, I already have Ape Face from the Siege line. Oh, are you talking about what's his name? Lance, help me out here.
What's his name? Snapdragon?
Yes, Snapdragon.
Not the other one. Or yeah, well, I guess maybe Snapdragon.
Yeah.
Was the Ape Face from Siege?
Yep.
Okay, so Snapdragon's from Earthrise.
Yep. Yeah. I pre-ordered him months ago on Walmart when there was a little glitch and you could pre-order him for $15, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it's like $15. So I think the only other things on my list that I want to get pre-orders in eventually. Take a quick look here. What's his face? Fast Track, of course, because got to go with Scorponok. Double Dealer, and the Quintesson. But yeah, those two are the only thing I got in. Worst case scenario, if I can't fix this Starscream, I just gotta get another one and return this one. So I'm not worried about it. That's the beauty. That is one of the beautiful things about collecting retail stuff is if there is a problem, it's usually pretty easy to fix.
That's true.
So that's it for me this week. Do we got anything else?
I do keep going back and forth. I find myself on GameStop looking at that pre-order for the Darth Revan lightsaber, and I don't know the first thing about the character, or you know what I mean? Like I look at it and it can change colors, and it's got a beautiful hilt and a stand, and I'm like,
that is one
buying that.
That is one massive regret I have, and Lance and I was staying with Lance for a weekend for one of our pay-per-views extravaganzas, and we went to Best Buy in Concord, 15 minutes away from his house, and they had one of the Darth Revan Black Series for $10.
Oh shit!
So good.
And I didn't grab it, and I don't know why, and now I wholeheartedly regret it.
So that means you're going to pre-order this $250 lightsaber?
Fuck no. But
pre-order on GameStop though, and you can go if you go to GameStop, your local GameStop, and you pre-order it, and it's not due out till September 2020, you can just go to your local GameStop once a week and slap $20 down on it.
I'm not falling for your bullshit again, Wade.
It's not bullshit. It's not bullshit. I got a fucking Soul of Chojokin Voltron from GameStop.
Oh, I know. And that's another thing. Like, I don't know how I missed it, but they clearance Soul of Chojokin Titanus down to $100 at one point.
Oh, the Megazord was like $79.99.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell I missed that. I would have gotten if I had found the Megazord for $80, I would have gotten two more.
The not Jason David Frank, Austin St. John, the Red Ranger, he has his own store on his website, and he put that thing down to I want to say under $100. He had a bunch that he would sell and he was signing, and they went like hotcakes.
And he wasn't charging any more, any extra for the signature, which was the awesome part about it. So, yeah. Live, learn, regret.
So yeah. So about you getting that lightsaber?
Still no.
But whatever.
If I could find a Revan, even if they re-release the Revan figure, and it goes for the retail $20, I'd still grab it, because now there's a lot of people coming out with replacement cloaks for them, And that's one of my gripes about the figure is that it has very little posability because of its hard rubber cloaks. And like his helmet is like fully sculpted once you take off that hood. It's really cool. And people are selling the cloaks for like, an extra $20. So it's not that bad. So is that all we got for this week?
I think so. That's all I've got.
All right. Dustin?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Alrighty, guys. Well, typical closing spiel. Right now we're on YouTube, so we are beholden to the YouTube gods. So, to help us out, if you like what you hear, please drop a like. Always open to constructive criticism. Leave comments down below what you liked, what you hated. Tell us that Dustin is just talking way too much and he needs to shut up. And yeah, that would be great. So for the BTW Beers, Toys, and Wrasslin podcast, I'm Nate Gleason with Lance Johnson.
Yeah.
Wade Fry.
See ya.
Dustin Hayward.
Adios.
Boo. You broke it up. Come on, man.
We'll talk to you next week, everybody.